And I will begin with a few introductory comments. As a courtesy to everyone here tonight, please make sure that all cell phones are turned off. Please note that tonight's Planning Commission meeting will be rebroadcast via CityLink and posted on the www.minnehahacounty.org site for viewing by the general public. Any final action taken on the conditional use permit applications tonight will take effect 5 working days following this meeting unless a written appeal of the Planning Commission's decision is filed in the Planning Office by Monday, April 4th at 5 p.m. In the event of an appeal, the decision will be referred to the County Commission for a hearing on Tuesday, April 19th, 2022 at or after 9 a.m. The affected parties will be notified of the meeting date, and meetings of the County Commission are held in this same room. Okay, first on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to an item that is not on the agenda? At this time, the Planning Commission will consider the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are perceived to be non-controversial and meet all the requirements of the codes and regulations. The consent agenda will be acted on in one motion with no public hearing on the items unless a member of the public, the commission, or staff requests the item be removed from the consent agenda. The minutes from the February 28th meeting are included in the consent agenda. Does any Planning Commission member wish to have any item removed for discussion?
Madam Chair, I believe item 5 needs to be taken out for discussion.
Okay. Next, I will read each item on the consent agenda and ask if there are any issues or comments from the staff or the audience. If any member of the staff or audience would like to be heard on the item, please raise your hand, and the item will be moved to the regular agenda to allow you to address the commission later in the meeting. Any items remaining on the consent agenda will be approved by the Planning Commission with the conditions recommended by staff. Okay, item number 1 is the approval of the minutes of the February 28th, 2022 meeting.
Move approval of the minutes.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and seconded to approve the minutes of the February 28th meeting. All those in favor?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Opposed? Motion passes on the approval of the minutes. Item number 2 is conditional use permit 22-17 to transfer one building eligibility from the east half, the northeast quarter, and the south 155 feet of the east 310 feet, the south half, the northwest quarter, the northeast quarter, and east 310 feet, the north 665 feet, the north half, southwest quarter, northeast quarter. There is an exception of Tract 1, Hanson's Addition, and the exception to the west half, the northeast quarter, another exception, the south 155 feet, east 310 feet, south half, northwest quarter, northeast quarter, and except east 310 feet, north 665 feet, north half, southwest quarter, northeast quarter, and except Tract 1, Hanson's Addition. That's the end of the exception. All in Section 7, Township 104 North, Range 49 West. That is a Delaware Rapids Township. Petitioner is Joseph Wolz. He is also the property owner. This is located approximately 1 mile west of Del Rapids. Item number 3 is conditional use permit 22-18 to allow a garden center for the cultivation of trees on the property legally described as Lot 1, Tract 3, Morgan Country Edition. It's the northwest quarter, Section 27, Township 101 North, Range 48 West. That is in Split Rock Township. Petitioner is Andy Colseth. Property owner is the same. That is about along Highway 42, approximately a quarter mile east of the Highway 11 intersection. Item number 4 is conditional use permit 22-19 to exceed 3,600 square feet of accessory building space. The area requesting 3,950 square feet on the property legally described as Tract A, 1, Schwartz Edition, Northeast, Section 28, Township 103 North, Range 49 West. That is Severe Drop Township. Excuse me. Petitioner is Douglas Schwartz. He's also the property owner, southwest corner of Midway Corner.
Madam,
Pardon me?
You want me to, are you opposed to it? Oh, no, no.
okay.
Item number 5 is going to be referred to the regular agenda. Item number 6 is conditional use permit 22-21 to exceed 1,600 square feet of accessory building space, requesting 2,190 square feet on the property legally described as Tract 1. There is an exception on Lot H1. That is end of exception, Hacks Tracks, southwest quarter, northwest quarter, Section 22, Township 101 North, Range 48 West. That is Split Rock Township. Petitioner is Derek Kattenberg. He's also the property owner. And it's approximately 1 mile east of Sioux Falls, 48102 Spring Valley Place. Item number 7 is conditional use permit 22-22 to transfer 3 building eligibilities from lots 1 and 2. There is an exception of north 1,215 feet, east 528 feet, Lot 2, and accept Tract 1, Johnson's additions, Government Lot 2, end of exception. To the north half, northeast quarter, all in Section 34, Township 102 North, Range 47 West, Red Rock Township. Petitioner is Isaac Crawford. Property owner is Claire Crawford. That is a half mile west of the South Dakota-Minnesota border. Item number 8, conditional use permit 22-25 to transfer 1 building eligibility from the west half. Northwest quarter, there is an exception of Tract 1, Simonsma additions, end of exception, southwest quarter. There's another exception of H1, and except south 959.76 feet, east 831.20 feet, and east north 17 feet, and the south 50 feet, and except Tract 1, Simonsman addition, and exception to the southwest quarter, all in Section 36, Township 104 North, Range 49 West, that is in Del Rapids Township. Petitioner is Mike Simonsma. Landowner is the same as 3 miles east of Baltic. Item number 9, conditional use permit 22-27 to allow a Class C hog concentrated animal feeding operation on the property legally described as the southwest quarter, southeast quarter of Section 20, Township 104 North, Range 48 West, Logan Township. Petitioner is Nick Simonsma. Landowner is Kenneth and Marcia Simonsma. They're 4 miles southwest of Del Rapids. Okay, so,
Madam Chair,
Becky.
I will recuse myself from voting on item number 9.
Okay, I will need a motion to approve every item except item number 5, which is going to be removed to the regular agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and second to approve all items except number 5. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. If your item has been approved, you are free to go.
It's a lot faster with the consent agenda.
5, conditional use permit 22-20 to allow outdoor industrial storage on the property legally described as Tract 3, Hars Edition, Southwest Quarter, Section 30, Township 102 North, Range 50 West. That's Benton Township. Petitioner is White Buffalo Ridge LLC, also the property owner, approximately 1 mile southeast of Hartford. Kevin?
Kevin Hookman, County Planning Department. This item is a conditional use permit to allow outdoor industrial storage. This property came to the attention, I'll bring up the map. This property came attention to the Planning and Zoning Department from a series of complaints by a nearby property owner. Outdoor storage within an industrial zoning district does require a conditional use permit, and the property currently has storage on it without the permit. The property is located at the end of the gravel road at 261st Street, along where other industrial properties access in the industrial park. The current location of the outdoor storage is only in the south part of the property. You can kind of see it there in that imagery. There's two driveways onto 261st Street that have a gravel apron, but the rest of the property is still just surfaced with dirt. As staff, as dirt has concerns about dirt being the primary driving surface, as it can pull off material into the roads and cause issues with weeds and so on. So we would suggest or request gravel surface on driving surfaces and throughout the storage area. Outdoor storage is a common part of land uses in industrial. Nearby, you can see the neighboring property was approved with outdoor storage with fencing that surrounds the entire property. A couple properties down is Semcast, which has a very large outdoor storage area, which did not require fencing on that location. But just to say that this is as a use, outdoor storage is a common feature of industrial properties. Screening, however, staff does find that would be beneficial for the property, especially considering the neighboring property owner on the east side as a dwelling. With screening or either berming or trees or fencing, it would be beneficial to them because of proximity. The area is actively developing. New buildings and plats are being approved every year. And as a normal, typical use, this proposed use is not likely to affect neighboring uses going into the future. It is also likely that this is a stepping stone use. Petitioner has expressed to staff that he hopes to develop the property in the future, in which case he would bring forward other plans when that time comes. And then this property is accessed from 261st Street. As I noted before, there is no gravel on the property. Gravel does not extend through the site. Gravel surface should be required for minimum of all driving areas. Drainage will not significantly be affected on the property, being that there's no hard surfacing on the property and that they're planning at this time to adjust the contours. The petitioner has, I'll note, built some berming, and I'll go to the site plan here, along these two locations on the north and the east properties. You'll see that the berming stops kind of right before the house views the storage area, in which case that could be extended or other means of screening could be extended through there. The site does offer lots of parking and offloading, or room for offloading, so that no parking and loading should be allowed on the street. Outdoor storage and equipment materials does not typically produce odors, fumes, dust, and noise. There is some possibility of dust and noise being created by the site, more so if it was left as dirt. As dirt dries, it'll create the dust. And noise will likely be a minimum, as it is not always being used on a daily basis. It's just used periodically as needed. And then the other last part is that this proposed property or this proposed use will not likely have a negative effect on the health, safety, and general welfare of the public. And one more part to add to that is that to reduce any sort of concerns for health, safety, and public welfare concerns. Staff is requesting that we add a condition to prohibit chemical or petroleum products from being used, stored outside. Staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit with 5 conditions, as is included in your staff report. I'll just show you some of the photos of the site. Much of the site materials that are being stored on the property are perhaps like the overuse or over-ordered items that have been brought to the site, or items that are not in the best of repair, I'll admit. You can see items being stacked, a lot of building materials, and then trucks and vehicles and equipment. Spools of wire, that sort of thing. And there's the nearby house, and you can see that it is fairly close. This is kind of a hard picture to see. It shows both the dirt being squished down because of the thaw and the mud. It also shows in the background there a berm that was built, and where it kind of stops right at the, just to the right of this photo is that house. But that berm is beyond kind of the view shed of the house. The petitioner has asked staff that he, at one point, and I hope that he's here to address this, that he was hoping to maybe instead of, for condition number 2, that instead of the 90% opaque screening for the fence line along the south property line, that he could extend that berm along the south property line to help block view sheds from the right-of-way. So I'll bring it back to the site plan, probably this one here. And I am here for any questions, and I'll move forward.
Any questions for him?
Madam Chair, I was just wondering, how many complaints have you had on this piece of property?
I've only received the one complaint from a nearby property owner, and it was not the neighboring property owner for this property.
How long, do you know how long stuff has been stored there at all or not, or?
So in this imagery that you see here is from the county GIS website. That imagery was flown in 2020, so it's been here since at least the spring of 2020.
Do you know how long has he owned the property then?
I'm not sure.
Any other questions for him?
Chair.
Doug?
Yeah, Kevin, recommendation number 3. I like that idea, but I think there should be a time frame when he has to have those trees in place. 6 months, within a year, or whatever. That's what I see. I'd like to have in recommendation 3 is a date, a solid date that the trees must be planted.
Kevin, do you think that could be added to that?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely add, if you make a motion, you can definitely add a condition or part of that condition to include a 6-month or a date of October or something like that.
Any other questions for him? Guess not at this time. Is the petitioner here? Please step forward, state your name and address.
My name is Tom Hurd. I live at 5401 South Shadowwood Circle, Sioux Falls, and I'm a partner in this LLC.
Any questions for him?
Madam Chair? Yeah, would you have any problems with a solid date on when trees must be planted?
No, that's fine, because we plan on moving that equipment pretty soon and then stripping the black dirt that's there. So we can put that to join the other berm and then put the gravel down and move the equipment back on the gravel as recommended by the zoning.
Okay, thank you.
And to your question, how long it's been there quite a while. Since we probably have owned it 4 years, I'm guessing,
And all that's been there since 4 years then, or
most of it, probably.
what's the intention with getting rid of it or
No,
or
for
doing
storage.
anything, or?
For a temporary storage yard, in the future, we're gonna develop that into lots for storage, construction shops. Just haven't got that done yet. We just recently purchased the other 4 acres, so just trying to lay out what we're gonna do in the future.
Any other questions for him? Okay, not at this time.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else in the audience care to speak to this item? Please step forward. State your name and address.
My name is Gary Meyer. I live on 466th Avenue. I live about a half a mile from this place, and I overlook it. I strongly oppose granting this permission. As he said, that junk has been there for many years. I've driven by it many, many times. It never goes away. It just gets worse. It seems he knew when he bought this area, he knew that it was not zoned to store industrial equipment, and I don't think we should change that now. It seems to me it goes back to the old saying, it gets easier to ask forgiveness than it is permission. On top of this, what is being stored there is just plain junk. It is discarded and junked equipment, along with piles and piles of old pipe, equipment, chunks of cement, and various other things. There are now 8 semi-tractors out there. These are not functioning vehicles, as the license plates tags have long expired, and there are parts falling off, laying on the ground. There is a tanker trailer out there with a bashed inside, a gravel trailer pup that is very old, the tarp is shot, and it appears unusable. And along with that, this is just one part of the area out there. As Kevin stated, Chemcast is on the other end of this property, and their lot also looks very trashy, and they let their trash blow all over the neighborhood. Tushin Storage Units is also down there. They've had numerous drug problems in their storage unit, and whoever they are renting to is using it as a junkyard for wrecked vehicles. This area used to be zoned agricultural and now has become the eyesore of the neighborhood. I've had people drive into my place that have not been there for a while, and they say, your neighborhood is really going downhill. I brought this up last November and was told that it didn't really seem like that much of a problem. After all, it's a light industrial area. I was also told that it was not zoned for this type of storage, so I don't know what's changed between now and then. And now Hartford has decided to build a regional sewer plant out there as well. So the neighborhood just keeps getting trashier and trashier. I live out there. I've lived there for over 40 years. I would like to see some respect for the neighbors that these property owners come out there for. This wouldn't be allowed to take place in the city. So it disappoints me that this committee lets these kinds of businesses come out here and then they feel like they can trash the neighborhood. There's no regard for their neighbors. I'd like to see some accountability to keep the neighborhood from becoming a slum. This has become a graveyard for old construction equipment and supplies. We take pride in our neighborhood, and we wish these businesses would take pride in their property and ours as well. And I would like to show you some pictures, current pictures. Could I have you bring them up, Kevin? Okay, so there you can see, there's the 8 semi-trucks. They have been there as long as I can remember. I've been driving down here since last spring, so they've been there over a year. I don't know. I think it started with 6 of them last spring. We're up to 8 now. There was 9 there a couple of weeks ago. There you can see the trailer that hauls gravel. The tarp is about shot on it. There's another semi-trailer there with the door wide open. It looks like it's unusable. There's the tanker truck with the side bashed in. There's an old road sweeper. Again, it looks like it's out of commission. The van, I don't know if that runs or not. There's a pile of concrete, bunch of old pipe. It's just pipe, piles and piles of pipe laying all over. There's a dump truck. The back of it is full of junk. It isn't being used. I don't know what the vehicle next to it is. There's a road packer. That thing too, you look at it, I'm sure it's not usable by the looks of it. It's shot. There's a compressor. That white next to it is a compressor. There's more pipe. There's 2 excavators. If you notice, the windows are busted out. These things don't run. They're junk. It's being used as a junkyard. And there's just another view of the pipe that are laying there. And there's more pipe, concrete pipe, and you can see the house in the background. That house is right next door. They live right next door to it. I did talk to the owner of that property yesterday. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it today, but he is very upset with this. And there's, again, more piles of stuff, just piles of metal, old equipment with the house in the background. More piles of metal. More piles of junk, concrete, tubing. There's a container that's filled with junk. And again, more junk. And there's an old disc used to till up sod. The disc blades are broke. It's not workable. And there's another view of the other side of the excavators. You can see the tracks are piled full of junk. There's junk in front of it. And another picture there, it just goes on and on. The junk is piled all over. More junk. And there's the semi-trailers. You can see the fronts are falling off from them. One doesn't even have a grill on it anymore. And there's a license plate. I believe that was 2019. And that's the only one that had a date on it. The others didn't have a date at all. So I'm asking you, please, deny this. I would like to see our neighborhood cleaned up out there. Every business that moves in, it just seems to get worse and worse.
Is there anyone else in the audience that care to address this item? I'd like to respond to Sure. Please come forward.
Just about all the material out there is usable and runnable. The 2 backhoes are being fixed as we speak because one of the engines is bad. The trucks, I'm not exactly sure because those are my partners, but all that pipe is used on a daily basis on projects in Sioux Falls and for counties for temporary water. So just about it. There is one, I was out there yesterday, there is one load of junk that has to go out. That's correct. In a pile by the backhoe, which you've seen in his picture. But just about I'd say over 90% of that stuff still runs, and we use it daily on a daily basis.
Is there anyone else? Sure, you can come back.
Disagree with him on just a couple piles of junk out there. The junk is piled all over. And them excavators have been sitting there for years. They are not being worked on. I was down there today and looked at it. They are not being worked on, and I doubt that they run. And I showed you the picture of it. The windows are busted out of them.
Anyone else care to address this item? I'm going to close the floor then. Commissioners? Comments?
I guess, Madam Chair, I'll start, I guess.
Adam, go ahead.
If Commissioner Bark didn't bring it up, I was gonna bring it up. I guess this, to me, it looks like a red flag for just kind of a dumping site for a bunch of junk, I guess, is what I'll say. It concerns me. I guess I don't want to see it turn into a junkyard down there. I guess I pulled up on Google Earth too. It looks like stuff's been there for years, the way it looks. So, I mean, it's concerning to me. I guess that's what I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say, but it's concerning to me of turning it into a graveyard for a bunch of junk, so.
Jeff?
Madam Chair, Adam is right, and I think we all know that junkyards pop up all over the place on a pretty regular basis, and they are difficult to get rid of. At the same time, if we don't do this conditional use permit, we don't have any much leverage over this property. And, we can add conditions like the trees in 6 months, and maybe staff has some ideas what else we might do.
I would just disagree that with the idea that we don't have a lot of leverage, because if the conditional use permit is denied, it would be a zoning violation, and then we would proceed as such, giving the property owner notice to abate, to clean it up, to rectify it. if the planning commission says no outdoor storage is allowed, then we would start the process of a zoning enforcement action. And if the property owner still did not clean up the property, we would turn it over to the state's attorney for legal action.
Madam Chair. Scott, isn't it true that generally we require unlicensed and inoperable stuff to be stored indoors?
Well, it's not allowed to be stored outside, so if it was stored indoors, it can be kept.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other further comments, commissioners? I've already closed the floor, sir.
Yes, Madam Chair, if nobody else has any comments, I'll just make a motion to deny it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to deny conditional use permit 22-20. Any further comments? All those in favor of the denial?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So,
I need a roll call vote, okay? Jeff?
this is to deny, so
Yes.
voting yes means to deny, right?
Yes, that's correct. Doug?
No.
Ryan?
Aye.
Mike?
No.
Becky?
Yes.
Adam? It's
Yes.
No. Yeah, yes, okay, for no. I have 4 yeses and 2 nos. That means that the item has been denied. Move on. To item number 10.
Madam Chair, I will recuse myself from this item.
I'll read it, I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to have Kevin comment on it, okay? It's conditional use permit 22-28 to allow a Class C, in parentheses, 960 animal units, hog concentrated animal feeding operation on the property legally described as tracts 1 and 2, Hangy Edition, Northwest Quarters, Section 19, Township 104 North, Range 48 West. That is in Logan Township. Petitioner is Jeffrey Simonsma, also the landowner, 3 miles southeast of Del Rapids. Kevin?
All right, so this item has been requested to staff to defer action on this request. If you were to defer action, the request was to have 1 month deferral, so that would go to the April 25th Planning Commission meeting. Traditionally, if somebody does show up, even though staff is recommending to follow through with the deferred action, if somebody wants to speak, we usually open up the floor for that. The purpose of the deferred action is to possibly look for alternative locations for the barn, and we'll come back in a month to review it. So,
Madam Chair, I would agree with Kevin in that if people have been waiting through all this other stuff to talk on item number 10, we should listen to them.
Okay. Okay, well, since the item will be deferred till next month, I'm sure that I have an idea that a majority of you people would like to speak to this item. If not, you can come back to next month as well and speak as well. If they get the location worked out, that is.
if we want, I can go through just a few of the slides anyway to
Go ahead.
kind
Why don't
of
you
bring
do
that
that?
up, so we at least have some discussion over it. So this is the property. The barn is planned to be on the east side of the property. kind of near some existing trees and just outside of the kind of the farmstead area there. The proposed barn would look something like this. It'd be 100 feet wide by 200 feet long, thereabouts approximately. The petitioner has submitted in his materials a odor modeling setback tool, and this map represents a 97% annoyance-free odor modeling ring, and there's no nearby houses no nearby houses inside that 97% annoyance-free ring. Some of the photos of the site. This is looking to the farmstead from the west. The barn will actually be located on the far side of this. I'm kind of standing by the highway there. And then this is looking at the farm where the barn is going to be at. You can see that kind of grove of trees. It'd be nestled kind of in the back on that row of trees there. So I'll go that way. This is pointing from that location to the nearest neighboring property. And then this is, the arrow's not in the right place. This is across the highway to the next neighboring property.
That's the wrong picture, that's 257th and Highway 11.
Yeah, that's what it was. It's going the other direction. No?
This is the hockey, this is number 11, this is the.
Oh, I got mixed onto the wrong map. Got it. So that would be, I guess, the photos of the property. The property across the highway is a similar distance away, but on the east side. So, or on the west side, excuse me. So, is there any questions?
Any questions for him? Is the petitioner here? You want to step forward and state your name and address, please, since you are item number 10?
Oh, yeah, my name is Jeff Simmonsma. My address is 47826 Pipestone Street, Del Rapids, South Dakota. Guess my intentions were to put the barn up to profit from it for my farm, but I have a few neighbors that are kind of against it, so I'm gonna figure out maybe to move the barn or figure something out with the neighbors. The plan is.
Are you okay with deferring it for a month then?
Yes.
Okay. That was mainly my question. Okay.
Could I ask?
Yes.
a question?
Sir, can you come back? I have a question.
What are your neighbors' biggest fears?
Of property decrease in value and the smell. The biggest one is property decrease amount, they say.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I guess not. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item if you're here? If
You wanna speak
would
on
you like
this
to speak
item?
to this item?
Do you want to talk about this item?
Okay, come
have
forward
my
and state your
hearing
name and
aids
address.
I'm I'm representing my wife. She owns the property to the south of there, north, I mean.
Can you state your name and
Jerome
address?
Garrett's. Jerome Garrett's. Thank you. Levon Garrett's Trust is the property. I'm very, very worried about the manure, manure management plan because where they want to set this hog barn, it's a very low area. And there's several acreages around there that have been there for quite some time and stuff like that. But the manure management plan is the main thing that I'm not sure. I have not seen none of their manure management plans, but they need attention, let's put it that way.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak to this item? Please please step forward, state your name and address.
Nick Simmonsma, 47749, 246th Street, Del Rapids. The previous speaker is concerned about the manure nutrient plan, and I guess I kind of worked with the plan. I guess I currently work with Central Crop Consulting, and we have signed up plenty of acres to spread the manure on, so there's no issues there. We got plenty of acres in the area. We got farmers in the area that are more than willing to take the hog manure, which we all know that's very valuable for us, so I just thought I'd share that.
Say, Nick, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
So, do you inject it then?
Yep,
Okay.
of course.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay. Anyone else care to speak to this item? Come forward, state your name and address.
Dwight Mary, 47968 247th Street. I guess my main thought here is there going to be any trees put around the hog facility to help cut down with the smell? One. Two is what ground has been signed up, and is it too close to residential, already established building sites? That's it.
Comment on that, one of you, or?
There has been plenty of neighbors. I guess I don't think it's appropriate to state their names, but there are farmers in our area, which I'm sure you guys would know their names. And trees, as you can see, there are trees on the north end of the barn, and there's also trees on the west side, so.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to speak to this item?
Mike Mecklenburg, 24687 478th Avenue, and, Jeff said that he's deferring and hoping to work something out with the neighbors for alternate suitable location. And we've been talking with Jeff. I live only about 880 yards from the proposed site. I would say a quite expensive piece of property that would stand to lose a lot of value. But we are certainly trying to work with the applicant here, and as I understand it, we'll have an opportunity to talk on the 25th, is that correct? Mm-hmm. So we will probably wait till then, but yeah, there are concerned neighbors, and like I said, I'm one of the closer ones, and but we appreciate the applicant trying to find an alternative location to work with the neighbors on this.
Okay, anyone else care to speak to this item? Okay.
Do we need a motion to
Defer.
defer? I'll make that motion, but I'd like to make a comment. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any of these potential conditions like trees, fencing, berms, haul roads, we can all talk about that next month and see if we can't tweak whatever plan finally comes to us to be a better plan and the best plan. And so I look forward to a longer discussion next month.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, is to defer conditional use permit 22-28. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. It'll be deferred till next month. Item number 11 is conditional use permit 22-26 to allow an indoor recreational facility on the property legally described as Track 4, Coburn's Edition, Northwest Quarter, Section 11, Township 102 North, Range 48 West. That is in Brandon Township.
Madam Chair,
Petitioner-
let's give him a second to run out of the room. Nathan. Maybe we could make sure they move down the hall instead of, okay, Scott's after it.
Okay, the petitioner is the Brandon Valley Hockey Association. Landowner is Richard Funky. It is located at southeastern corner of State Highway 11 and 257th Street. Kevin?
All right, Kevin Hookman, County Planning Department. This request is to allow an indoor recreation facility. A recreation facility is allowed within an A1 agricultural zoning district with a conditional use permit. The petitioner has submitted a brief narrative and a sketch plan for the location, and there's the property on the screen there in the sketch plan. The narrative describes the ice rink to be available with a primary season of October through March. And the facility would likely open early in the mornings and open into the evenings. As you see in the sketch plan, the site is to be located approximately 1,000 feet to the west of South Dakota Highway 11 on 257th Street. I keep on getting my cardinal directions wrong today. East, 1,000 feet east, it's even written there as I'm reading. 1,000 feet east of South Dakota Highway 11 on 257th Street, with a size of approximately 400 feet by 400 feet. The building itself would be 140 feet by 240 feet on the property. It should be noted that the size of the building would necessitate engineered drawings and architectural review for building code compliance. Staff reviewed the application and found several areas of concern regarding the proposed use. First is that this property does have street frontage to Highway 11, but the plan shows that the access is to be 1,000 feet east of the highway. This would cause a lot of traffic on a road that is fairly small, and I'll show you through some of the photos, and not really adequate to cover potential hundreds of cars a day on the property, or on the road. The second concern is the floodplain. The property is not currently listed in the state's current the county's current adopted floodplain maps. The state and FEMA has been working to update floodplain maps for the region using better calculations on water flow and also better viewing of the ground surface and topography of the ground. This is the map of the area that is available online of what FEMA will be proposing to increase the floodplain to, or change the floodplain to correctly reflect the 100-year floodplain. The proposed location would be right approximately in that red arrow location. The orange on this map, it would correlate with what's considered a 500-year floodplain. That is for reference, and it's not for regulatory purposes. And then you do see that there is some area on the property. If they were to move the property, they could possibly fit it into that area where there's no floodplain right in the center. There's a hill there. But more detailed planning would have to take place to show that it's not, that it's out of danger of the floodplain. The next concern is that the property is located over an aquifer within the Water Source Protection Overlay District. This would produce likely a lot of people on the property and it would have to have an on-site wastewater management system, which could cause problems with the aquifer underneath the property. If this is to be approved, the applicant should be aware of the county's building permit processes. As stated earlier, this project would need an engineer and architectural review for code compliance, and likely the use of the building would likely require a sprinkler system, which has shown with other projects to be quite costly for new projects. The 6 conditional use permit criteria used is the effect upon the use and enjoyment of other property in the surrounding area for uses already permitted and upon property values within the surrounding area. And likewise, the second one would be for future property uses. The area around the recreation facility is mostly agricultural with a few farmsteads and residential acreages. Placing a large recreation facility in the area will increase traffic on the road and other than those residential uses. This can create dust for neighbors and likely affect but it will not likely affect surrounding crop usage. The area is also, as being in a proposed agriculture or low-density agricultural area, will likely continue to be low-density agricultural. This may cause potential for nearby building eligibilities to develop within the residential uses nearby that would have a problem with this sort of use. And then again, the floodplain development in the future could become a problem. 3, utilities, access road, drainage, or other necessary facilities are provided. If this is approved, the petitioner would be responsible for extending any necessary utilities. The no drainage plan has been submitted at this time, and the site this large may want to consider to approve a best management practice on the site to contain drainage from the site. Number 4, that off-street parking and loading requirements are met. The site is large enough to meet the off-street parking on the property with the requirement of 1 parking space for 300 square feet of building. That would require 112 parking spaces on the property. 5, the measures are taken to control offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, and vibration and lighting, so that none of these will constitute a nuisance. The proposed use would likely create a minimal for nuisance. The increased traffic may increase dust, but most everything else will be contained inside the building. Any lighting should be directed downward and away from the property, so it doesn't prevent glare onto other properties. And number 6, the health, safety, and general welfare of the public in the comprehensive plan. And staff is, again, concerned regarding the floodplain of this in the rural area and the rural watershed protection area. The projected rate of flooding may be 1% chance per year, but the likelihood of a large flood impacting the buildings and users over the life of the structure is compounded through the years. The Natural Resources and Open Spaces chapter of the Comprehensive Plan specifically lists limiting development in floodplains and over aquifers as goal number 3. So staff is recommending denial of this petition. So here is a photo of the highway looking north. There's a photo of the road looking to the east. And this would be approximately where the driveway would be located, looking west. And then this is looking at the proposed development site. You can see the farm in kind of the background of that site there. And then this would be looking to the northwest with the farms and the development up closer to the highway from there. So I will bring it back to this plan, and I'll be available for any questions.
Any questions for him? Guess not. Is the petitioner here? Will you please step forward? State your name and address.
Tom Grunick, 1901 South Archstone Circle, Sioux Falls.
How do you spell your last name?
Gruenig. We're proposing to build this on this location due to the price of land. We'd like to build a building on this land based on price of development. Land is tremendously expensive nowadays, and obviously an ice rink is not a cheap thing to build. We're in works with Coke Hazard. They actually have the drawings already done, ready to go, but we just We just need a piece of land to do it. We obviously don't want to be in a floodplain, so obviously we would move it a little bit to get it on that hill. Because we've already been on a flood already, so we don't want to do that again. We propose 4 acres, gives us more land to expand to another sheet for future growth of the facility if need be, but it's not in the works anytime soon.
Any questions for him? Jeff?
Have you given any thought to building up the elevation there to get it out of the floodplain?
We would highly suggest doing that, yes.
And if I may, how about the road going in there? It's 1,000 feet?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty wide gravel road compared to most gravel roads, but there's always that option we could do too, yeah.
And of course, there would have to be room for emergency vehicles to come, so there shouldn't be any parking on that road.
No, there will not be any parking on the road whatsoever. We'll have plenty of room for parking on the land. So there is also a 6-inch water main on the north side of that ditch, perfect for sprinkler system. We don't need a sprinkler the whole building. We just have to do the locker rooms and the rec area. We don't have to do the actual rink location. So that does cut down on the amount of water we have to use for the rink.
And there's electricity, I assume.
And there's 3-phase on that corner, on that intersection. I talked to the utility. Adequate for what we need. So it's actually a pretty nice location, and it's a flat location, ideal for a rink. The main drive is the price of land. It's just through the roof right now. A lot of rinks actually go out of the cities to try to get that cheaper land because of the cost of building a rink. It's going to be like $1.5 million just to do the rink and the chilling system, and that's not even the building. So there's a lot of added costs that we have to come up with, and one of them is to try to get a cheaper property. This is what we're looking at.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Doug.
What made you,
Pick this location.
or talk to Dick, or did he come to you, or?
We've been looking for land for 6-7 years. We can't find any land we can afford and that works for us. We obviously need water for a sprinkler system, and we need power. There's nothing in Brandon that we can afford. We are talking to XL Energy, but that could be years. We just need a cheap chunk of land is what we need. We don't need anything ideal. We don't need high-end real estate. We don't need frontage or anything like that. We just need someplace we can build a rink.
And then what's the potential growth of hockey in the Brandon, Garrettson, Del Rapids area in the next 30 years?
I hope good, I guess. I don't know. That's something I can't predict. I can't predict the future on growth of hockey.
I mean, right now.
We have
it's
120
just the
families.
Brandon group right now.
We have 120 families right now. A rink can supply about 200
And
families.
those are all Brandon residents, or do they come in from different?
Different areas, Sioux Falls, Larchwood, Garrettson, the surrounding area, yes.
Thanks.
So it would benefit the community. But obviously, it's not the best, obviously, that's not the nicest location, but it works for us because it's cheap land.
Any other questions for him? Guess not at this time.
Okay.
Anyone else in the audience care to speak to this item? Please step forward and state your name and address.
Kurt Dutson, 48255 257th. On the map up there, the little triangle to the east of the property, it kind of looks like David and Goliath up there as far as I'm concerned. Tom, how would you like to look out your back window and see all that river and cornfield every morning? I enjoy it. I don't know how many of those 120 families in Brandon would like to live out there with that kind of a view, but I've worked my butt off to get to this point where I can enjoy that. I appreciate the farmers around us that take care of their land, and we're able to go outside and listen to the eagles in the trees on the river and fish in the backyard. And I never believed in sky pollution until I heard this nonsense. Looking outside and being able to see the stars at night, I pay a lot of money to go out and do that. And to have a parking lot full of lights and people running around at night. From a safety standpoint, my family, and you can see there's not a lot of homes there, but to have a facility like that and being the only resident that close, I think is going to bring some nonsense to the area. He said the road's wide enough. If there's 2 cars there, you have to get both vehicles have to get their wheels off the side of the road to go by. And anybody that's been on that road in the wintertime or in the spring, it's built on clay, and so when that clay thaws out, it turns to mush. Road graders, school buses can't get through there, and so it ends up being a dead-end road for most of the winter, which I don't mind. Flooding. We flooded a couple of years ago with all of that, had the river in our backyard and the river in our front yard. Unfortunately, we didn't get flooded, but if you plop that in the land right there, where's all that water going to go? You know, right into my house. So, Tom, you can add another $600,000 to that price you've got there. That's what it's going to cost you to build that, as far as I'm concerned. I guess that's just from a privacy standpoint, having a facility like that in the backyard's horrible. I moved there for the privacy, for the peace and quiet, and I know every family that wants that hockey rink would give money to go do the same thing, and I'll sell it to you if that's what you want to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak to this item? Please state your name and address.
Siri Beckman Sorensen, 48186 257th Street, Garrettson, Brandon Township. We live just to the west of this corner. There's a lot of issues there in your paperwork. I would have one concern about the water line to the north. I read something in the paperwork that said that's the rural water and it maybe could not handle the water needs of this facility. So there might need to be a water storage tank. But my concern, I do have a concern for the road because it does get blocked off. It's soft. It is not very wide. I have a greater concern for Highway 11 going to the north from that intersection. I don't think you could see it from the picture. But if you go to the north, there is not a very far sight line because it's a hill going uphill. And as we taught our kids how to drive out there, we said this is the most dangerous intersection you will encounter each day. We can sit at the corner of 257th and Highway 11 waiting in the morning when the steady traffic heading to Sioux Falls from Garrettson and Sherman and points north, it's steady from about 6:30 to 8:30. And then again in the evening as people are returning home from work. And knowing young drivers and how inexperienced they are, you can turn onto the highway and all of a sudden there's a semi going 70 miles an hour just right there behind you. And I especially have concerns as people would be leaving the facility and turning left across the traffic heading south into Brandon. It's just not real safe for that number of cars coming and going and at those hours. And I would say I am a fan of youth sports. I personally know some Ice Cats. They are good friends of mine, and the little boys that play. But this is not the facility, the location for their facility. I think there are too many issues. Like I said, my main one is to speak to is the traffic, especially on the highway, and the road just not being able to sustain it. The other thing I would mention is the Brandon Valley Hockey Association is a 501c3, so when they buy the property, it takes it off the property tax rolls. As a nonprofit, they wouldn't be paying taxes, but the township would still be having to maintain the road. And knowing that the township gets most of its funding from property taxes, there are a lot of people who don't live out there that are going to expect those of us who do to maintain their road for them. And so that's an issue. And I'm speaking as somebody who works for a 501c3, so I know the burden that we can put on our neighbors in our neighborhoods. So that is also a concern for me, that of all the hundreds of people using it year-round, that they really are not contributing to the maintenance of the road as well. So thank you very much.
I'm Jeff Sorensen, and I'm married to Siri. We're located about where the white map is on your map, just to the west of the intersection, 48186, 257th Street. I read through your 2035 comprehensive plan, and I think it's really well done. And looking forward, and I noted that one of the things that you have on there is areas, and one of those extends from Brandon North on Highway 11, and is projected that would be developed half mile to the north for commercial and industrial use, but it stops a mile south of this. And I think that's wise planning, because at the point that stops is where the river crosses the road. Two rivers come through there, including the one that we're above. And when they meet there, the water just spreads out and goes everywhere. It's not a place that you're going to want to have this kind of development. But I guess my largest objection is you look at your plan and designing wisely where development would go out from the major intersections in the cities and the county. It's to preserve the rural areas and put the development where it belongs. And I maybe resent is a strong word, but to think of looking for cheap land in the country to drop things like this is not what that plan encompasses. It's exactly to prevent these kinds of things coming and looking for cheap land to drop in the country. So.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Lauren Schoeneman. I live at 25697 482nd Avenue. And on the map, I'm the driveway that you can see in the corner of 257th and Highway 11. Their proposed use was stated to be October through March from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And if you look on the Brandon Valley Hockey Association, there's a question and answers portion, and it says, will this complex be open to the public? And it says yes. And the facility will be rented for business outings, private parties, community events, farm markets, craft fairs, street dances, sportsmen's expos, farm shows, and auto shows. This is not going to be a facility operated from October to March. It's going to be summer months also, because they're going to be looking for the revenue from the summer months to help support this building. Also, what has been talked about already is the traffic. I live right on the corner. My daughter got rear-ended right in our waiting to turn into our driveway. This intersection is a concern. This morning, I took out of my driveway, I checked to my left over the hill, I saw lights coming, and it's not very long, and you have traffic in front of you. If they put a facility like this, it's going to be a year-round facility, and we're going to have traffic on that corner year-round. Not to mention, this is a commercial building. Why in the rural areas? Put it in a commercial spot that can handle the utilities, the fire sprinkler, water source, all that. I can understand, property being less expensive, but this is a commercial building. It's 33,000 square feet. And there's going to be functions there all year long. And I'm just not in favor of this, because I lived on that corner. My family grew up on that corner. My daughter had an accident on that corner just because of the traffic and people not paying attention. It's posted, but there is faster traffic. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Madam Chair, how many people want to speak on this? And maybe you could call on them in order or something.
My name is Tom Brown, 4806 200 259th Street, Brandon, South Dakota. I'm one of the supervisors on Brandon Township Board, and that road is not wide enough for that. We have a lot of trouble with that road, especially with drainage, and one of the problems is the railroad has the right-of-way there, and to work with the railroad is really tough. Plus, I owned A1 septic tank and excavating for 26 years. I did all kinds of perk tests and permits, and 8-foot holes to check the molting of the soil. I worked with the county and the state all the time. They talk about building the property up, but if you have to build the sewer system up, you'd have to put a mound system in, and the price is out of this world what that would cost you for this big system. Any questions?
Thank you. How many more want to speak? Okay. Okay.
I see 3 of them.
No, it looks like 4.
Hi, my name is David Coburn. My wife Kay is here as well. We live at 25732 482nd Avenue with a lucky homeowner right next to it. Okay, to begin with, your comprehensive plan does not suggest that you build over an aquifer. It doesn't suggest that you change this industrial area to a commercial area. Because this association doesn't have the money to go to build in Aspen Park where they were approved, that's not my problem. That's their problem. If they don't have the money that way, this is an extremely expensive expensive facility. What are you going to do if it doesn't work? If it doesn't work, you're going to get stuck with that building. Where I live, he said he's coming up behind the house, go on the higher ground. Well, bye-bye property level, property cost. Our house would sink right out of the woodwork as far as that goes, and we have a very expensive home there. I just don't understand why you can't find another place in the commercial area that has these utilities, that has the waste facility, that has all these things. Why do you want to come out here and ruin our neighborhood? It's agriculture, it's not commercial. Please don't approve this. If you have any questions of me, I live there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm David, excuse me, I'm David Sorensen, live at 48344 257th Street. And I don't think any of us are really against any facilities like this, but this is not the proper place. I live 1.5 miles east of Highway 11. Like Mr. Schoeneman said, numerous times, I think it was approximately 4 years ago, if I'm right, somebody got killed in that spot. My mother, years ago, probably about 40 years ago, she almost got hit there. There's been other close incidents, but as you come down to Highway 11, like Mr. Schoeneman said, you look to the north. I pulled out there numerous times, cars going to the speed limit 65, but you know, they go 65, 70. Semis coming over that hill, and I think it's dangerous. That's the aspect I'm looking at it. It's totally out of line. If you are interested, go out and take a look at where this is. It's not the proper spot for this. It's not at all. Any questions?
Good evening. Greg Scott, 26041 408 4th Avenue. I have a verbal agreement with Mr. Colburn and his wife that I'm possibly going to purchase it when he retires. And I'm a construction guy. I build houses, residential, I've done commercial. You look at the cost of what it would take to build the ground up, fix the sewer, everything like that. They're going to have more, just as much into that as they would to buy a commercial property at the end of the day, if you ask me. The safety level is terrible, like everybody's saying. I've been down the road, people average 70 miles an hour or faster sometimes. So I don't feel like this, and me being in the construction side, is the proper property for this place. I am all for the event center or whatever they want to do, just not there. I don't agree with it. questions of me.
Thank you. I'll take a couple more, then I'm going to close the floor.
Hi, I'm Joni Hagan, 48215, 258th Street, Brandon. I have some real grave concerns in regards to this. I mean, we live 1 mile south of this. With the traffic the way it is right now, there's numerous accidents. And I can tell you, my husband being one of them, 4 years ago, was hit on going out to fix fence, that he has permanent frontal brain lobe damage that is never going to be corrected. So my concern is with having these young kids, and I have 2 of them coming up, going to be getting driver's license, and mine aren't immune to that either, but they speed. They're not paying attention. You get these young kids that are going to go to a hockey site, excited about going there, talking to their buddies on the phone, talking to their buddies in the passenger seats, not paying attention. And just north of that, you know, going into Garrettson, there's a curve. So when people come around that curve, they're not watching, they're not paying attention. So, you know, there's a lot of concern, especially with the traffic alone. You have any questions for me?
My name is Wanda Schoneman, and I live at 25697, 482nd Street, right at that intersection that everybody has been referring to. We've lived there for 20 years. We got a letter 9 days ago about this whole situation, so we've had very little time to prepare. And I have 2 issues. First of all, this neighborhood is ag. I believe that many of the farmers are managed by 3rd and 4th generation farmers. We're 3 miles from Corson, where there are the closest commercial properties. That means that we are 3 miles or more from typical support systems, utilities, fire, police, law enforcement. The other thing that really hasn't been mentioned very much is that there's a lot of ag traffic on the highway and on those gravel roads. Everything from tractors, wagons, combines, large semis, and any other kind of machinery you could imagine going back and forth doing their business. That's another really good reason to leave it zoned ag land. And then in reference to the highway, we have seen the speeds increase. We've seen the number of traffic people, the numbers, just the numbers increase. They start rolling at 5 in the morning and they go at least till 11 o'clock at night. And there's a lot of semis on that. When we sit in our driveway facing southeast towards that property, if I see a light to my left at the top of the hill, it's 7 seconds before that truck is right at that intersection. That's no time for anybody to really react safely. And their shoulders are not designed as turn lanes. They're used that way, but they're not designed for that. So I echo many of the people's concerns about the traffic and safety. So I would ask you to please vote to keep this property as ag zoning. Thank you.
Wyatt Sunwold, 48152 Palisades Street, Brandon, South Dakota. I own the parcel of land that is directly west of the proposed site there. On that site, I also have a permitted CAFO. There, we also graze cows on the corn stalks and field that is along Highway 11 there, that's black in the picture. So I've been on both sides of this issue. I've been a petitioner here in front of you guys as well a few years back. Couple things, not much notice from the petitioners on this, and the things I noticed on it were poorly designed site plan. I'd like some more info on it. I definitely had to go into a grading plan, parking plan for my business. I'd like to see their septic plan. They have no tree plan put forth. In their letter they sent out to landowners, there wasn't even a contact number or person to reach them out with any questions. The other question I'd really have on that is, how do they plan on staffing this building? When they say that the hours would be from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Very wide range of hours there that some supervision needs to take place there. To reiterate how dangerous the road is there on Highway 11, this year, January 24th, 2022, my hay grinder was turning, I'd be a half mile south of the intersection of Highway 11 and 257th onto Palisades. He was facing south, turning west, when a car rear-ended him, roughly doing about 60 miles an hour. Everyone walked away from it, luckily, shut the road down for probably a half hour, 45 minutes. Just really bad traffic on that. I have to reiterate to all my help, we have to be watching at all times. These cars do not look out for ag traffic. They don't look out for semis. We have cars multiple times passing us on our left-hand side when we're trying to make a left-hand turn. I'd just like you guys to take that into consideration. I do support a center for these kids and what they're trying to accomplish. I just do not think this area is the perfect area for it. Any questions from you guys?
Guess not. Thank you.
Just real quick, I thought this would have been brought up by the staffing or something, but that road that goes over in front of our house goes to a one-lane road underneath the bridge. If you start bringing traffic in there with this facility, people aren't just going to go to the facility and turn around. It'll be people nonstop trying to get under the bridge and passing there, so it is a safety issue from that direction as well. Thank you.
Anyone else, or I'm going to close the floor? Would you like to comment?
I'd like to comment, if I could, please. The land, we were asked to zone it commercial. They said we didn't have to. It was considered ag, so we could do the building as ag. It's no different from a pole barn. It's just a little bit bigger, you know.
Hold on.
The intersection, I can't help but the traffic. We could maybe suggest lowering the speeds in that area, which help out the community and us if it were to go through. The road, we could, or the state, or we could also try to help out with the road. We have no idea what kind of conditions are there unless, you know, we ask permission first. So, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Jeff?
Tom, did they say that you were approved at Aspen Park in Brandon?
They said that we could do it, but the problem is we can't get a loan for the facility because we don't own the land.
Mm.
So the bank won't loan us the land, loan us the money.
So it would be
Like
city
what?
land and your building, and gets complicated then?
Yeah, it gets complicated. The bank won't loan us the money unless we have over 60% of the funds, which is $2.5 to $3 million.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'm going to close the floor. Commissioners?
Seems to be a traffic issue out there. You know, Madam Chair, if I may, I really like youth hockey. I have granddaughters and grandsons that play hockey. Unfortunately, they moved away from Sioux Falls to Bemidji, Minnesota. Maybe they have better ice, I don't know. But I think they have better hockey players. But we can fix that, you know. We can get better hockey players. Anyway, I don't think this project is quite ready yet. I do think that it's a very worthy idea. You know, maybe Huset's has land, you know, maybe across the street from Huset's to the west. They were talking about building a hotel there back when crazy Chuck Brennan owned it. I'm sorry, Chuck Brennan owned it. And, you know, maybe in partnership with a hotel, a hockey rink could make some bucks. And we could always name it, you know, Sanford Hockey. And I'm not kidding. I think that all of these things are possible. And I would really like to see a hockey facility built on the east side of our county. And But I'm going to, should we defer it or should we just deny it? If we deny it, then it has to go through the whole process again, right, Scott?
Well, what would be the point to defer it? I mean, if you want him to bring back something, if it's
Yeah.
not appropriate use, then it's not appropriate use.
At this location, it's not.
Is that a motion, Jeff?
I talk too much.
Well, I wanted to make a comment. You know, my kids went to school at Brandon for over 20 years. We did a lot of sports there as well, but I'm also an appraiser in the business of actually looking at land and appraising it as well as houses. My concern is the floodplain there and trying to build on an aquifer. That is a huge concern, and it's also a safety thing. I heard a lot of things about the safety with the road, which I wasn't aware of, but I guess I just want to put my 2 cents worth in there too. And we have other people here on the panel that have had Brandon kids in the community as well. So, you know, it's not about that. Sometimes it's just about maybe the land or where they're going to build it or the location. And also the safety issues. That really concerns me. Always has and always will.
Madam Chair,
Doug, go ahead.
I'll just make a few comments. I'll keep it short. I had a son that played hockey. Great sport. This just is not the right location. Not, you know, roads, floodplain. It's just not right, because you'd have all these kids driving out, and, you know, winter times, the roads aren't the best at times, you know, so the inexperienced drivers. But I like the idea of you guys getting something going, but this is definitely not the right location. So I would not approve of this.
Spoken as a member of the 1974 undefeated Brandon Valley football team.
One other comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Go Jacks.
Jeff, do you want to make a motion? I can see you're thinking about it.
I will make a motion to deny this, and I would also make a motion to everyone that's out there to drive better.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion seconded to deny conditional use permit 22-26. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the denial?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 11 has been denied. Any old business? No. Any new? You want to comment on this?
Dubs?
Deb? Maybe you should say something about that.
I haven't seen the card, but
Oh.
Deb, my administrative assistant, is retiring, and you'll all be invited to a little going-away party. I think it's the Friday,
That's what it is.
Friday?
The 8th.
The 8th.
It's the 8th. I'm not
Yep.
sure what day that
Thank you.
She'll be missed.
I go good for you then.
Oh, sorry. I need a motion to adjourn.
I don't want to go home.
Turn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.